Hey guys, today I thought I'd show you how to make a really cool peyote stitch ring, just like this one that I'm wearing, which I made the other day. It uses both even count and odd count peyote. To make this ring, you will need Miyuki Delicas in size 10 in the colour of your choice. I'm using opaque lilac AB. You'll also need some beading thread and a beading needle. Okay, so I've threaded my needle with the beading thread and we're just going to pick up 6 beads to get started. There's going to be 6 beads in a row. If you want to, you can put a stop bead at the end of your thread to stop the beads from falling off. So we're just going to pull these down the thread, leaving around a 6-inch tail. Then we're going to pick up the beads for our next row, and this is actually even count peyote that we're doing at the moment. We're going to be picking up a bead, skipping a bead and going through the next bead. This is probably the trickiest part, actually getting started, because the beads just want to move around. But you just need to really hold them in place while you do this second row, and actually the third and fourth row as well. So coming to the end of the row, just holding it in place all the time, and then I'm going to flip the beadwork over and bead another row of peyote. So you're going to do this for a few more rows, maybe another 6 or 7 rows, and then we'll come back and start to do the twisty part of the ring, which involves doing odd count peyote. So when you've done a few more rows of peyote and your beadwork is quite sturdy, it's time to move on to the twisted part of the ring. And to do that, we're basically going to be breaking down the beadwork into 2 columns using odd count peyote to do that. So to start with, pick up a bead and go through the sticky out bead as normal. And then with your next bead, we're going to treat this one slightly differently, and the easiest way to show you is probably to flip the beadwork over for now. So we're going to be going down into this bead that sits underneath and through the middle bead. So you're going through 2 beads, and then you'll see that the bead slips into place. And then we're going to go through the bead that is underneath this top bead. And then we're going to flip the beadwork back around. And this is where we first started. And then we're going to go through this bead here and pick up a bead, go through the top bead, sticky out bead, and that's basically our first row of odd count peyote. So the easiest way, I think, is to keep switching your beadwork around. Remember, we're just working on this column at the moment, which only consists of 3 beads per row. Okay, and then we're adding the end bead, and we're going to be going into this bead that sits underneath. So flip the beadwork around. You're going to go into the underneath bead and into the middle bead. You're going to go into the bead that sits underneath the top bead. And as you can see, you're starting to get this separation of the beadwork. So, continue doing this for as long as you like, really. It depends on how big your fingers are, how big you need the ring to be. As a guide, I do 19 rows for this part, so I'll do that now and I'll come back to you when I've done that. So I've beaded this column now. I actually got quite carried away and did about 23 rows, so I'm hoping it's going to fit okay. But basically it does need to be long enough so that it kind of crosses over nice and neatly. So I've checked it against my finger and I think it would be fine. So the next thing to do is go all the way back down to the main beadwork and do the next column. And it's up to you whether you want to tie off your thread here and then start with your thread again down at the bottom, or you can just weave the thread down the column until you get to this position to do the next column. So that's what I'm going to do. So now I'm in a position to begin the next column. I'm going to go up through this top bead, pick up a bead, go through the next bead, flip over the beadwork, pick up a bead, through the top bead, and then we're going to start our odd count peyote on this column as well. So it's a bit trickier this time because obviously you've got this beadwork in the way, so you're just going to have to shove that out of the way a little bit. Down through the bead underneath. So you might want to flip your beadwork if it's easier. Through the middle bead. And down through the bead that sits underneath the top bead here. Pull it through. Get into position for the next bead. And you're just going to carry on like this until you've made a second column of beadwork. Okay, so I've made my second column the same size as the first column. As you can see, I've finished it so that I've got one sticky up bead on this side and I've got two on this side. This is going to help us when we connect the beadwork in a second. So you're going to cross one column over the other and hold it in place. And as you can see, you've got a low down bead here, a sticky up bead here, low down bead, sticky up bead, a low down bead and a sticky up bead right on the end, and that's just going to help us connect the beadwork seamlessly. So to begin with, we're going to get our thread all the way to this end and start from this side to connect the beadwork. Now I'm going to start peyoteing again. I'm going to go into the next top bead. I'm going to pick up another bead and go through the next top bead. So this is going to join up the columns. And then I'm going to put another bead on the end, just like we've been doing already. And it's going to sit like that. So that we can carry on doing even count peyote, we need to get our thread over to this side where the lower bead is. Okay, so we're now in a position to do even count peyote again. And basically you'll carry on doing even count peyote now until you create the ring band length that you want. So keep trying it on your finger, see how it fits. So I'm going to carry on and peyote some more, and then when I've got the band the length that I want it to be, I'll be back to show you how to connect it up. Hey guys, so I finished doing my band now. What I ended up doing was adding some more beads to the first piece of beadwork that I did, just because I was running out of thread on this side and I didn't want to have to rethread my needle and have different bits of thread sticking out of the beadwork that I've got to weave in later. So to make things simple, I just added some more onto this side as well. So when you've got your piece of beadwork the right length for your finger, you need to make sure that one end finishes with a bead on the outside here, but a top bead on the outside here, but a lower bead on this side. That way you'll be able to connect it properly. So when you're ready, you can just put the two ends together, match them up a bit like a jigsaw, and then you're just going to sew through the beads in a kind of zigzag fashion to connect the ends. With the outer bead here, you'll want to just go into the lower bead to join the thread up, to make a bridge in between those two beads. When you get to the outside, you can tie off your thread. I just do this by going in between into the bridge between two beads, and then I always go through a few more beads before trimming my thread. So I'm going to trim that in a second. I'm just going to weave this piece of thread in as well, and then we'll see what the finished result is like. I hope you like this tutorial. If you do and you decide to make one for yourself, leave me a comment below, and to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a like.